Welcome to the Thursday, October 3rd, 2019 edition of the Clemson Dubcast. Open week version of the Clemson Dubcast. Been a big week at TigerIllustrated.com. Project that's been months in the making. I think we started talking about it maybe back in April, I want to say. Talking with various folks who have been in Dabo Swinney's orbit over the years, from his mother to former President Jim Barker to Board of Trustees member David Wilkins to Thomas Austin to Tyler Grisham. Basically just personal stories and anecdotes, news stories that these people are sharing with their own sort of personal insights into what makes Dabo the type of leader he is. And the account from his mother, Carol McIntosh, is just, it's incredible and moving and just a profound, powerful testament to the power of strength and optimism and a lot of things. And also really explains a lot how Dabo Swinney became who he is. So check that out if you already haven't. If you're not a subscriber, get 50% off your first year right now. Special promotion we're running. Also, $50 worth of Clemson gear free. Promo code Clemson20. That is hard to beat. Our title sponsor of the Dubcast from way back in the beginning, August of 2018, Parham Smith & Archenhold Law Firm in downtown Greenville. Blake Smith, a good friend of mine, he's been representing plaintiffs in medical negligence and other personal injury cases for over 15 years. Blake serves on the advisory board for the paralegal program at Greenville Technical College. He recently completed his 10th year as an adjunct pro bono professor at Clemson University, where he teaches sports law. Blake was also featured in a recent Consumer Reports heart surgery risk article. In other words, Blake and everybody else at Parham Smith & Archenhold know what the heck they're doing. Free consultations, 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. I want to welcome aboard to the podcast Blackacre Law Firm, sister law firm of Parham Smith & Archenhold in Greenville. Stuart James is a 1998 Clemson grad, big Clemson fan, just like the Parham Smith & Archenhold family. Blackacre gives you the representation you can depend on when you're on the home stretch, closing on your house. All those documents you're signing, all those technical aspects of it, the last thing you want is for something to go wrong at that point. Blackacre also provides services for wills, powers of attorney, durable, and healthcare. Don't put yourself and your family in a bad situation by not having these important documents. Call today for a consultation, 864-775-5400, or go to their website, blackacrelawfirm.com. That's BLACKACRE lawfirm.com. All right, without further ado, Clipboard Jesus, the most interesting man in the world, whatever you want to call him. We are checking up on Charlie Whitehurst, covered him when he was the quarterback at Clemson, have seen him around at various points over the years, and now we're going to spend more than an hour catching up with him to talk about a lot of stuff. All right, here we go. This is the good one. Enjoy. All right, joined by Charlie Whitehurst, the one and only. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
I was just giving you a little grief. You asked me how I was doing. I said I'm probably working harder than you.
Yeah, and I'll say it again. I got to change that. I've been telling myself that for a few years now. I do a bunch of hobbies and do a lot of leisure activities these days, and it's fulfilling for the first year or two. But I got to figure out something, be a little more productive going forward, I think.
Is it harder, I guess, idle time harder than you thought it would be? Or I guess what I'm saying is, has this point come earlier than you thought it would, where you're like, man, I gotta do something?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you hear people saying that when you retire from whatever. I mean, sports or anything at whatever age, but you hear it more in football. All of a sudden it's over. There's a lot of structure that is placed there for you throughout your college and pro career that you get used to being kind of told what to do, and then you're very excited. I love football and I do miss a lot of parts of it, but it is kind of exciting when it is over to say, I'm going to do whatever the heck I want. Nobody's going to tell me what to do now. And like I said, it's great for a while. And then the stories you hear about people saying, hey, you can only play so much golf. I remember hearing that when I was 25 going, there's no possible way that's true. I think it was Chris Chandler said that, we were kind of friends with him out in San Diego, the old quarterback. And going, this guy's crazy, but I understand a little bit now, and it happens, for sure. And it's I guess it's a good problem to have,
I did a little homework on you. Hank Unverzat, mutual friend.
I know Hank, yeah.
So I met Hank and your dad in the College Station Airport, or maybe it was Austin, in 2004 after the Texas A&M game.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I've kept in touch with Hank. He's a friend, and he's a loyal subscriber to Tiger Illustrated, so we chat every now and then. So I called him up, I'm like, man, what is Charlie up to? So you can get on him if any of this is inaccurate, but he says hunts, fishes, plays a lot of golf with former Clemson guy named Forbush.
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, Matt and I have remained pretty good friends. Mark Jaton in Charlotte, I hang out with a lot. And he was actually my roommate at Clemson, and ended up transferring to Elon after 2 football seasons. But I see those two a good bit. Yeah,
likes to reshaft used golf clubs.
That's digging deep right there. It is kind of funny, the hobbies that you get into. I tinker. I've got a bunch of guns and stuff. I kind of tinker with those. I guess I'd say I'm an amateur gunsmith. I build my own golf clubs now. I do it for some of my friends. I've got a cousin who is a professional golfer. He's trying to make it, onto the tour and stuff. And we're always tinkering with his stuff. And I mean, I don't know if that'll continue if he keeps going in the way he's going. But you get these funny hobbies. Yeah, I mean, I do stuff down in my garage. Yeah, yeah. Surprised you know that one. That's pretty good.
Buys off of eBay.
I do. Absolutely. There's a bunch of good stuff, hunting gear and golf stuff. I hadn't paid full price for a golf club. I'm like five years behind in technology with golf. I just can't go spend $1,200 for a new driver. I just can't do it. Mm-hmm.
So you're still looking for deals?
It's just kind of it sounds, maybe that sounds a little bit pitiful, but just like are you like haggling with them on eBay, like exchanging messages back and forth? It's not a big part of my life. I don't know. Me and Hank, I guess, aren't hanging out quite enough. I think those are the things that stick out that are interesting sometimes to people. Like, people ask me all the time, "What do you do?" And I say, "What you do on the weekends, I do most of the time." That type of stuff. It's normal stuff. Everybody's bought something on eBay. I just do it a little more often. So, it sounds worse than it is. I think it's fairly normal activity, really. I think it sounds freaking great. But they don't make. I'll just say this: they don't. Some of the older. I do like older things, kind of older things that we used to do. I like older style of football, to be honest with you. I like older. Sounds ridiculous, but the hunting gear, I'm on the older patterns, the ones I grew up seeing, like with what my dad had on when we were in the dove field the first time. I don't want to wear the new stuff. I don't want to do the new stuff. And that's bad. I mean, I sound like an old disgruntled man or something like that, but I kind of appreciate and a little bit nostalgic with the way things used to be. So. Man, I listened to a podcast. I think it must have been on ESPN or something with you from a couple of years ago, and they were asking you about this, like your thoughts on this image of you, this cult hero of clipboard Jesus, and you have in all these photos. Like, you're the one I can't get out of my mind is you sitting in this little ski nautique. Sipping on a glass of wine or something. I don't have it up in front of me. And you're like, hey, look, I'm not this party animal guy. I don't know where this came from. Are you pretty chill? Is that your life? Or yeah, I'm sticking with that. I mean, I probably should go out at night a lot more than I do. I mean, I don't. I usually have an interesting time when I go out and have a good time, but it's just not really. It was never really all that fun for me. And I guess when you grow long hair, I don't know what people think. I don't think people really care at all about me anymore. But at one time, you grow long hair, you play quarterback and stuff. People think you must be this like wild man, and it's not. It never really was like that. never really enjoyed. I mean, I do enjoy having a good time for sure, but yeah, I think there was probably an image of me that I wasn't trying to really dispel either, but it's not really true. No, I mean, I think most people are a lot more boring than everybody thinks.
So your NFL career, just absolutely fascinating. 12 seasons, right?
11.
I'm sorry, 11. 25 games played. And what I gather, and I could be wrong, tell me if I am, is that while some people out there would look back on that, being a backup and have regret of how I should have been the guy here or there, it seems like you maybe have a different take on it. Like, hey, I preserved my body, made some money, and had a lot of fun. Is that pretty close to accurate?
Yeah, it goes a little bit back and forth. There's, I guess, an interesting part later in my career when maybe this can explain it a little bit. Later in my career, I think when I went to Tennessee, the opportunity to be a starting NFL franchise quarterback had passed. Okay, and there wasn't that thing that you were chasing that you're like, oh my God. And it's some of it is financial. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that it's not, but in achieving all the goals that you set out to meet when you were young, that was gone. And all of a sudden I was just playing football for fun, for the fun of it, mm-hmm. Like it wasn't a fame thing or just an achievement thing, to be one of those guys, one of those top guys that get talked about forever, and all the memories that you have of winning games and competing and getting the respect from your peers, that was gone. So all of a sudden I was playing for fun, and I started having a lot more fun playing football. I mean, it was, and I did, it kind of coincided. I got an opportunity to play in 2014. I started 5 games that year, and I played pretty decent. I mean, I had one really, really bad game at the end of the year, but those 4 starts that I played pretty good, and I was able to kind of, in my 9th season, I think, kind of feel like, okay, it made me feel really good about my career, better than I had before, and I felt like I kind of belonged a little bit more. Okay, maybe I could have done this a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh, I don't tell people, I could have been there. It's not like that at all. I appreciate the fact that I was in 10 NFL training camps and made 10 football teams. That's hard. I am proud of that. I would have loved to have been a part of more winning games and be a bigger part of some teams for sure, and share those and, accomplishment and be out there more. But I stuck around a long time, and I am proud of that.
So how often during those final few years do you think about the end? And then when the end finally comes, what is that like in the immediate sort of sense of it?
It's very few players, I think, know. A lot of players know it's over, I would think. Very few, get to retire on their own. I mean, very few guys. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, I'm not comparing myself with anybody, but like, John Elway won 2 Super Bowls and he was done and he was on top of the mountain and all that. Most guys, you just kind of, hey, it's over. Physically can't do it anymore. For me, it was kind of gradual. I get hurt in Cleveland. I wasn't healthy enough to play anymore that season. I got injury waived or whatever. And, but I rehabbed my knee, and then, I wasn't really in shape the next year. And it was kind of me just, I don't know, kicking it down. I couldn't have played if somebody called me in 2017. I couldn't have played. But it was a gradual thing. You don't really want to admit it, but I mean, it's over, Yeah. Nobody did call me. But it really is. I got hurt the last three years I played. I got hurt the last game of the year in 2014, broke my first rib, tore my shoulder up, tore the cuff again. That was the last game of the season, but I would have been on IR. 2015, I tear my hamstring in Indianapolis. I end up the last week on IR, and then I go on IR in Cleveland. I mean, I'm done. They look at you, you're old. Not that they look at you, you are old. It's over. Physically, you can't do it anymore. And I'm amazed that these guys are doing it late 30s into their 40s now. Unbelievable. I mean, the commitment that Brady's done physically for his body, it's unbelievable. Like, to do that every single day at that age. But it's more of a gradual thing. Kind of, I'm rambling on your question, but it's, I think when the season was over in 2017, I knew I was done playing football. I mean, I was done a year before that and knew it, but didn't really want to think about it. But it is what it is. I mean, I'll just this one little story, then I'll shut up. But Nick Hardwick was a center in San Diego, and he got, I don't remember exactly, but I can't remember, he got hurt or whatever, something. And I texted him when he retired. And he said, I mean, he was just he was the kind of the heart and soul of the football team, one of the toughest guys I ever was on the team with, smart guy. His response was, thanks, it's got to end sometime. Oh. And I mean, I remember that it does end sometime. Like, we're all going to die, you know, you hopefully live a full life and stuff like that, but it's going to end. So why is it, you know, it's over. You move on. So that's kind of how I've dealt with it, I guess.
You lived in San Diego, Seattle, Nashville, Indianapolis, Cleveland. What's the coolest place of all those?
I was really fortunate to be able to live in Southern California for 6 years. I'm glad I got to do that. I went to Seattle. That was interesting. The weather's so bad in Seattle. Mm-hmm. It actually, it's like a cliche thing to talk about, but it's bad. But it is a pretty neat city. Football wasn't great there for me. You know, that was when I had my opportunity. Didn't happen. So I don't have great memories of that place. Nashville was probably the most fun I had. We won 3 games when I was there is the problem. You know, that's not fun. I mean, and so if we would have been more winning there in Nashville, that'd be just for sure the number one. I enjoyed that city. It's a place I probably could live in my life, more so than all the other ones. But I'd probably have to say Nashville was the best place to be. I was older. I was in my early 30s. I kind of had some stuff kind of figured out, you know what I mean? Like in life and in football. So that was nice. I'd have to say Nashville probably.
So a place you live, how things are unfolding on the field influences how much or how little you're enjoying that area, I guess.
Well, certainly. I mean, there's times where, if you're losing football games, you're not really wanting to go out in public. You know, at least I wasn't. It'd be nice not to have that personality, but I mean, you know, you're not supposed to identify as the football player and stuff like that as your kind of worth in the world. But I mean, when you're winning, it's pretty easy. When you have a good practice, you feel good about yourself. When you don't, you feel bad, you know, and there's things you don't want to deal with, you know, out there when you're losing for sure. But it does. It did affect the way I felt, sure.
What did you sort of figure out that you thought I guess was important as you got into your early 30s? If you don't mind me asking, I don't want to pry too much into personal stuff. But.
Well, no, I mean, personally, I mean, when you're 25, you just don't have much life experience, you know? I mean, you don't really, I mean, just little things, you know, all of a sudden you start making more sense of the world and all, and maybe being more efficient in the way you operate, you know? I mean, like I say, I mean, in college, there is a lot of growth that happens in college, but I look back at 24 years old as a rookie. I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing about anything, you know? I mean, maybe I should have a little more, and I think I had a little bit more understanding than maybe some other guys, but, you know, you get older, you mature a little bit personally, in football too, you know, you start figuring out, you know, I mean, here's things that I got to do. Here's things that I can't do, you know, if that's, I mean on the field too, you know, everybody wants to run around and make great plays or whatever. Well, a lot of times when you start feeling real good about yourself, you say, I got this figured out. So many times in my career, you make a few good plays, practice or games or something like that. And you're like, I am on it. I am hot. I'm good. And the next play, you throw it to the other team. The next play, that happened to me 5 or 7 times in my career. I mean, the next play, not 3 plays later, you know? So you figure out, you just mature and you figure out what not to do, when to take a chance, when not to. And it kind of starts working out for you a little better.
When you were being recruited, where else were you looking? I don't remember.
It really came down. I was going to go to North Carolina, Chapel Hill. NC State offered me pretty early. Phillip Rivers was there. He was young. That was kind of not going to do that. UNC was really on me early, and I felt like I was kind of their guy. Mike O'Kane was their offensive coordinator. My senior year in high school, they get fired. Torbush gets fired. Bunting gets hired. They don't retain O'Kane. I still go to a visit there. I'm driving to the visit. I remember in the car with my dad, and Mike O'Kane calls me, who had been recruiting me with another guy, and says, "Hey, I just got hired as the quarterback coach at Clemson." He says, "I know you're going to UNC this weekend." He said, "It's a great school. Unbelievable. If you go there, you'll have a great time, all that." He said, "Just do me a favor. Don't commit this weekend. Give me till Monday. I'm going to try to get you an offer here." So I said I wouldn't commit. Calls me on Monday, says, "I got you an offer at Clemson." I said, "Okay." I had a great visit at UNC. I was ready to go. I would have committed if he didn't call me on the way there. And I set up a visit there. I go to Clemson. It was basketball school versus football school. Committed, I think, a day after I got back. That was pretty much how it went. There was a few other teams that offered. Louisville offered me. Tennessee sort of offered me. Georgia sort of offered me. But then Donnan got fired about that same time. Never heard from Rick's people. And there was a few more smaller ones, but that's about how it went.
Rick had David Green and then DJ Shockley, I guess.
Right. DJ and I are the same age. Green's a year older. I was at the camp. You know, they're being nice to you. Todd Donnan was Jim Donnan's son and the quarterback coach. And I remember him walking, kind of said, "Hey, come over here," during the camp in the summertime. "Hey, walk with me for a few minutes." He said, "Hey, what would you do if we offered you?" And I said, "Well, I don't think I'd come." I mean, Green was the all-state Georgia quarterback who had redshirted that year, but was going to be a redshirt freshman. And I'm at the camp with Shockley. You can kind of tell who they want. You know, yeah. I think they were trying to get somebody. I think they knew I was going to qualify. I mean, they'd take me, but I told him, I said, you know, I just think that I probably have a better opportunity somewhere else, and he respected that. So
did you grow up a Georgia fan?
No, I'm not a Georgia fan. I don't really know why. I kind of Georgia Tech. I like Georgia Tech more. I actually kind of thought when I was a junior in high school, and I thought I was going to probably play college football. We just assumed. I thought I was going to go to Georgia Tech. I just kind of thought that was where it was going to go. They weren't really all that interested. I actually have a good relationship with Ralph Friedgen now. I see him at some charity things, and I think I could have gone there and had a decent career, but they weren't interested. And Georgia's, it's just, you know, you love them or you don't love them in this state. I've never really been a huge fan of theirs. I respect. I got a great stadium. They've got some cool tradition for sure. It wasn't. I'd have gone there. Don't get me wrong. If I was their guy, I certainly would have gone. But I never was a huge fan. They're really fun to pull against, and it's really fun. Really fun that Clemson's so good now, living in Georgia. That's fun.
So after your freshman season, the 2002 season, Rick Stockstill, who was he receivers?
Yeah, Stock was the receiver coach. Yes,
he just, I guess, had the itch to run his own show as a coordinator. He leaves for East Carolina, and it maybe is the most important defection of an assistant coach in Clemson football history, because then along comes some guy named Dabo, I guess, in the spring of 2003. What was your first interaction with him? What do you recall?
I recall that we didn't have a receiver coach that next spring practice, and Coach Bowden was coaching receivers as the head coach. He was the one responsible, and I remember in practice one day, I remember throwing routes versus air, early in practice before you come together as a team. And there's just some guy that's hanging out behind us, leaning on a blocking dummy, just watching, and we know who it turned out to be, but I think he was just he knew he wanted to get back into it. Apparently. I don't know what he was doing, real estate or something, or insurance. I don't know, but he wanted to get back in. I don't believe I talked. There's a chance we shook hands. I don't know. But he was hired after spring practice. And that was, biggest decision in Clemson, maybe college football history. I mean, I hate to be dramatic about it, but I mean, when does that ever happen? You know what I mean? Some guy just calls an old employer or an old, networking thing with Coach Bowden and says, hey, I want to get back in. And then all of a sudden, fast forward 15 years. Unbelievable, And
here's the mind-blowing thing about it is if Stockstill doesn't get that itch at that time, Dabo had been in commercial real estate for 2 years, and so it was already a big risk for Tommy Bowden, because that never happens. A coach who's been out of coaching for 2 years. So let's just say, hypothetically, Stockstill stays. Well, and another coach, he leaves a year later. Well, that's a third year. That's 3 years Dabo would have been out of coach. And I think Dabo would be famous as a commercial real estate person right now. I mean, isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, obviously a guy that's going to be successful really with whatever the heck he does. I mean, but you're right. It's funny how things happen. Unbelievable. I mean, it really is unbelievable. I know he made, unreal. And to think, moving forward, you probably want to talk about it more, but I mean, to make him the interim coach, and then to hire him full time, like so many things have to line up. And what if the college football world, football athletic world didn't ever discover who Dabo was? I mean, Dabo is going to influence culture on football teams and athletics, maybe even in business. Who else? Who knows? Moving forward for decades, how he runs his company. And to think that we never would have known who he was is scary to think about.
Over the year we've been doing the Dubcast, we've developed a great relationship with the folks over at the Abernathy Boutique Hotel. In addition to being a great meeting spot for our interviews we conduct with local personalities, it's also a fantastic place to stay. The Abernathy is rolling out a loyalty savings program for 2019. After your third stay, you'll automatically be rewarded with an exclusive offer. It can be applied to future reservations for the remainder of the year. 15% off rooms, 15% off food and beverage at Taps Bar and Cafe. Learn more at theabernathy.com. Quick word about Uptown Realty LLC, headed up by Patrick Enzer, former sports writer who decided to get into the real estate game. Uptown Realty, locally owned and operated out of Sumter, but they serve the Eastern Midlands and PD area with the buying and selling of homes, commercial properties, and land. They also offer affordable new housing in the mid 130,000s from a local custom builder. Patrick is the sole owner and broker in charge. Grew up in Anderson, going to Clemson games, been in Sumter for 15 years, loyal Tiger Illustrated subscriber, loyal Dubcast listener. Website is uptownrealtysc.com. What do you recall about him, I guess that first year in 2003, and just what he was like and what you thought of him?
He was, I remember asking the receivers, how's the new coach? And it may have been Chancey. Chancey hadn't moved at that point. So it was 2003. Chancey Stuckey moved to receiver in 2004. So maybe it was another receiver or something, but he said, golly, he is on our ass. And Stock had a style too, and Stock has obviously been very successful where he went. Dabo was on him hard, and got after him. I mean, he coached them, his 10 guys the way he coaches the whole football team now. I mean, you make a bad play now, or you're a punter that decides to fake a punt, a couple of years ago. I mean, Dabo, he can defend you with the best of them. So I remember just how hard he pushed those guys, how on them, just be great in everything, not just your route running, but your downfield blocking, everything. And he, that was a big one. I mean, that stuck out really quick, that he's on their ass, and it trickles into other positions too. I mean, that's kind of the philosophy, I'm sure, is, you better coach damn quarterbacks hard. You just, if you're hard on the quarterback, then you can be, the offensive coordinator can be then hard on all the other positions if the quarterback's getting it. You know what I mean? So sometimes you get coached through people, but it trickles to everybody. When somebody's that passionate about what they're doing and their responsibilities, it trickles to the rest of the team.
I was talking with Tyler Grisham earlier, and his freshman year was 2005, and he said that was the hardest year of his life because of what he was dealing with in practice from his receivers coach.
Yeah, and a little bit was just that was his freshman year, I'm guessing too.
Yeah.
A little bit is college football is is a lot different than like high school football in the demands on your time, the mental demand, the physical is huge. I mean, you go from, I don't care if you were lifting weights or running or something in high school, it's different in college. I mean, they're on you. And I think at that period of time was kind of the end of, I think it was changing a little bit, like sports medicine and training philosophies. I think it was training a little bit. Back then, it was really just volume and run them into the dirt every single day, see who's mentally tough, and it gets you in great shape. I think now it has evolved a little bit too. I mean, Clemson's mentally tough. Don't get me wrong. I mean, and all these great teams are just as tough as any team from the past. But I think we've realized that some rest period and things like that are important as well. But so I think it was just a step up to college football, I would guess, for him. But Dabo demanded a lot out of you, no doubt about it.
I'm not just dredging up. I'm not trying to dredge up a bad memory, but I have to ask you the Georgia game in 03, 30-0. My one memory from that game is Tommy Sharp throwing up on the football.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh man. I finally got around, Tommy and I are still really good friends. He was probably my best friend on the team through those years. I just asked him, I think in the last year, I went down and played. He lives in Albany, Georgia. He asked me to play at the member guest golf tournament at his golf club. So I went down there, and a lot of what is talked about, a lot of the questions I got is, why'd Tommy throw up on that ball? They're kind of because they've known him his whole life and everything. And I finally asked him, I said, Tommy, why did you throw up on the ball? He said, what do you mean? So, my sinuses. I said, no, I don't understand why your body wanted to throw up. Why'd you do it on the ball? I never asked him that before. He looked at me kind of like, what the hell you mean? I mean, it's like, dude, what was I supposed to do with that ball? Anyway, so, that was hot. God almighty, was that a hot day. I was at the game against, who'd they play a few weeks ago? The hot game, Clemson. I can't even remember. A&M. It was hot. And I was down there on the sideline for the first half, and I had to take a knee a few times. I'm over there getting water from the trainers, and finally went up and found some shade at about halftime. But it reminded me of that game and like, how in the world are these guys out there doing this in 90-degree heat?
What? So after the 04 season, pretty tumultuous. Y'all win at Miami and then lose at Duke the next week, and then I guess Bowden makes a bunch of changes. O'Kane's gone. What was that like for you? What are your recollections of that?
That was tough. I mean, Coach O'Kane was a big part of the reason I went to school there. I've had a bunch of great coaches. I've had a bunch of coaches that I really respect, and Coach O'Kane is probably at the top of that. I think he's one of the best people I've ever been around in my life. He was fair, but he was a little bit like a father figure, like a second kind of father figure. And I remember when he came down and told me after the season, he said, "Hey, they let me go," and I felt so responsible. I mean, I had played pretty sorry that year. I don't think we were a very good football team, but I had made some poor plays during that season for sure, and I just felt bad about it. And you don't know what's going to happen. And I just remember, God, it was just tough. I understand why some of those things happened. I mean, that's what head coaches do. When you have a bad year, you fire your coordinators. That's what you do. But that was tough. That was really tough.
I got to go back to 03, the 63-17. I think I recall going into that game, they were playing some split safety look, and was it Dabo who actually said, "We're going to kill these guys" or something like that? Do you recall that?
I don't really remember.
Okay.
I mean, obviously we had a few plays for their cover two, obviously, because we hit 3 of them in the first quarter for touchdowns, I mean, in the second one the first one to Hamilton was fairly well defended, and it was a great receiver, and we got good protection and made a good throw. And that was big to hit that one early in that game, because I remember it was so loud. My God. It was so turned. I wish every rivalry college football game was played at night. the atmosphere is awesome, but I mean that's a tough place to go play. And then the second one to Aries, I just lobbed it. I could have punted it to him. I mean, just lobbed it down the middle. He's standing by himself, and we hit Ben Hall the next drive. I don't remember if anybody said that, but I do remember turning after the second one to the sideline with my hands
That's right.
open like this, going, what are they doing? And I remember seeing Dabo, and Dabo was. I just remember seeing that. We kind of locked eyes, and he's laughing and just pumping like that. And I just remember I kind of felt bad about it because it was almost like I was kind of showing him up, afterwards. I care less now, but I just remember going, what the hell are they thinking? What are they doing? But
you have a pretty good recall of that game, obviously. What's the most memorable play of your college career that you think back to?
That was pretty easy. The deep ball to Hamilton against Florida State that year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's late in the third quarter. I think we were up 10 or something. And he just, God almighty. I mean, I pumped to the right, trying to move the safety. And when you look left, and he's already behind him 5 yards, and you just say, don't miss him, threw it to him. And that place erupted. He goes in, and the game is, he felt it. It was kind of over at that point. And that was probably the biggest thrill I ever had in athletics, that 15 seconds.
So that year, after being down 45-3 to Wake Forest, you guys win your last 4 games by 156-48. Did you still look back and say, what the hell happened?
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. I mean, unbelievable, because I remember the locker room after the Wake Forest game, and they were already on kind of the media. I don't know if it was you or not, but I remember Bart he said, they lose this game, this is not going to be good, and we got beat bad. And I remember the locker room after, and we kind of all looking around going, I think our coach is going to get fired. I mean, you're not supposed to think that, but he told us, he said, I don't know how much I should share of kind of intimate moments, but he emotionally said, we're going to beat Florida State next week. And I remember all of us kind of looking around going, well, I don't know about that. But he, and then I remember the press conference after that game, like Tuesday press conference. Everybody was assuming that he's fired, and all the questions were about, hey, he's going to get fired. What's it going to be like playing for a new head coach next year? And that pissed me off. And I remember saying, that ain't happened yet. I mean, I guess I was a little bit naive, well, no, he's not. Well, yeah, he is, and it's not necessarily his fault, but I mean, everybody's fault. And somehow, I mean, we came to play. I guess sometimes you backed into a corner or whatever, and you win one game against a team you're not as good as. I mean, we're not as talented as them. They were number 3 in the country at the time, and we beat them handily. Then you got, I think, who was it, Duke the next. So you win that Florida State game. You go, oh my gosh, what are we capable of? And then beat Duke pretty good, destroy South Carolina, and then I don't know if Tennessee wanted to play us or not, but I don't know if they were distracted about not being a BCS game or not. But we wore them out, absolutely wore them out, and I think we were pretty dang good those last 4 games. I think we'd had a chance just about against anybody.
It's funny, Tommy Bowden told us years later, he brought up that locker room after Wake Forest, saying, I fully expect to beat Florida State next week. And we asked him, did you really believe that? And he says, no, I didn't think we were going to win.
Well, of course, you know what? But he did have, I mean, what are you supposed to say?
Right,
I mean, I think
right.
every coach worth a damn would have said what he said.
Right.
I mean, it's a desperation plea. I mean, that's your job. It's your job. Sometimes you got to lie to the players. But I don't know if it made a difference in how we played. I don't know. But he said it, and he gets credit for saying it.
So in 2008, October of 2008, you're in San Diego, and you first hear that Tommy's gone, number one, and number 2, that the receivers coach, Dabo Swinney, is in charge. Do you remember your reaction?
Well, a little bit, because Dabo called some guys that had played with the program. They were playing in the NFL. I think it was 5 of us, and then maybe ex-players too, that were older, Steve Fuller and stuff. And he wanted to show a video to the team. I think they played Georgia Tech that next week.
Yeah.
And he had the video people make up some highlight films and stuff. And then he called the video guy, I think Rick Bagby, called some of these players. And he said, "You got like a minute? Can you say something? We're going to play it to the team." And I remember it was me. Anthony Waters was on the Charge team too, so he did it. And then there was a couple, I think Brian Dawkins, and I'm leaving out some other guys. Chancey may have. And I remember what I said. I said, I don't remember verbatim, but I'd fight for this guy. You know him, I know him. I don't know what kind of football coach he's going to be, but I know he's a leader. I know that for a fact. And I remember saying that. And I remember being kind of proud of how it came out.
Yeah.
I'm in the car after a walkthrough at the San Diego's facility on the phone. Just Rick Bagby said, "All right, just start talking to the players. We're going to play it in 3 days for them, Friday night before the game." And I just started going. It was a minute or 2 minutes long. I remember saying, "Damn, I kind of got going." But I said what I felt, and it was that this guy, I'd fight for him. I would fight for this guy, and you should too. And I know they didn't win that game, but they didn't need to hear that. They already knew that about Dabo, So that's kind of what I remember about him getting hired, though.
Well, what did you experience with him or around him that made you feel, I would fight for that guy and vouch for him like that?
Yeah, I mean, football's like other sports too, but football it's so unique in the fact that it's like the ultimate team game. Baseball is an individual sport. Basketball can be an individual sport. It can be a team sport. But, I mean, LeBron can take over a game, or Michael Jordan would take over. It's kind of individual. It's such a team atmosphere, obviously. And then the contact, the physical hand-to-hand contact and combat, really, in football makes it very unique. And you have to bring it every single day. You have to, or you will get exposed. You will, physically or whatever, and he brought it every day, and he was passionate about winning for sure, but just being at your best all the time in all the things you have to deal with during a game or during a season, injuries and defeat and looking like an ass in front of 80,000 people, and then you have to go do it again the next week. You have to, and it weeds some people out. But he was the kind of guy that he wasn't going to shy away from anything. He wasn't going to stop coaching you hard. If you can't deal with it, you can't deal with it, And he never shied away from anything. He never left something unsaid. He never changed his standards. And and the big one too that I haven't even said yet is you knew he cared about you. You just knew it. You could just feel it. And that's probably the number one pillar of the whole culture he's created right now is, this guy does care about me. He's not just saying that he does. He actually does. And he's not terribly unique in that. I mean, I know other programs and coaches feel that way, but I just his passion for being as good as you can be and never shying away. Competition gets thrown around. Competition ain't always fun for people. It's hard, because it's in football, it's unrelenting. It never stops. And he's the kind of guy that, can lead men into that thing that can be scary, because you got to do it over and over and over again. I just think it was anybody that's ever been around him. I think media members see it. I think fans see it, and to actually be in there with him doing it is a special thing.
Tommy was a nice guy, but was he just a little more distant in that way? Maybe. Dabo is very unique. I mean, obviously, there's 130 something coaches, and he's in the top 5 in every attribute. Passion, all the stuff. So he is unique, very unique. It's just sometimes it's hard to compete in certain personality
things. You know, I mean, I look at it like I don't think I could do it like Dabo does it. You know, I mean, I don't mean anything against Tommy at all. I mean, it's just Dabo's he's another animal. He is, you know, and I think everybody sees that.
It just seems like, and obviously we have the benefit of hindsight now, but Dabo was perfect. He was exactly what the Clemson team needed, what the Clemson community needed, what the students, everybody. It's the perfect fit.
It's perfect.
You think? You agree?
I do. I mean, I know when it started to change there in, 10, 11, 12, and we started, the program was ascending big time. I remember thinking, people say, well, what's the difference? What's the difference? There's one guy. And again, I'm not trying to say anything negative against Tommy Bowden. It's just, one guy's responsible for this. And the thing that gets left out a little bit is how good a recruiter Dabo is. Yeah. I do remember when I was there and he was the receiver coach, we had an off day. You get like 4 of them during the whole 365 days. But we didn't have to come in. We didn't have to work out. We didn't have to do anything. Well, you're so conditioned. You just kind of hang out in your coach's office that day after class. I mean, you don't know what else to do. And I remember, but it's a casual setting. And I remember going, let's go talk to Dabo, a couple of guys, because we knew we liked him. We knew we liked his personality. Let's go talk to Dabo. Go to his office. He's on the phone. And you can tell quickly he's on a recruiting call. And he kind of puts his finger out, hey, give me a second, guys, whatever. And he's kissing this guy's ass. I don't know who it was, He's kissing his ass. And he's like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And I've told this to a few people. I don't know if I've ever told it to you, but about halfway through, about a minute later in the call, instead of kissing ass, he starts saying, oh, you don't have to say that. Oh, I appreciate that. Well, thank you. No, you don't have to say that. This guy starts kissing his ass, or this parent or something, and I'm going, oh, my God. Like, that's how you recruit right there. He's got him, eating out of his palm of his hand, 2 minutes into the call. He hangs the phone up. We stick our head in there and go, what are you telling these people? And he laughed, but, he was, I think, the recruiting coordinator at that time. And we realized exactly why. So he's pretty good at that too.
Speaking of players hanging out in his offices, I mean, Terry Don Phillips has said many a time that when he was sort of observing Dabo when he was the receivers coach, one of the things that really struck him in a powerful way was walking through the McFadden building and seeing all these players hanging out around Dabo's office, and not just receivers, but players from all positions. Do you remember that as well?
Yeah. I do. And the person that comes to mind, like the analogy I have when it comes to that, is Baker Mayfield. When he was coming into the pros or whatever, that's why he was drafted number 1 instead of number 3, 4, 5, or 6. Cleveland went to work him out, and they said, oh, my God, everybody just gravitates to him. The guys he was throwing with, people he walks through the football offices. There's Baker, all that. People that's how you want your quarterback, and that's how you want your head coach. And I do remember wanting, if you had a little time, let's go, cut up with Dabo. If you had a little special teams period or something like that, he was very interesting, engaging, fun to be around.
A great friend of the Clemson Dubcast and winner of the Clemson Area Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year Award, Founders Federal Credit Union. If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers, and all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership, as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Membership at Founders has many benefits: great rates on loans and savings products, advice on investments and insurance products, and even a Clemson debit card available for any Founders member with a checking account. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA. If you're in Clemson, stop by and see Matt and his staff at 680 Old Greenville Highway, Suite 300, right next to the Walmart Neighborhood Market. Big supporter of the Clemson Dubcast is Harris Flooring America. Based in Anderson, South Carolina, Harris Flooring has been instrumental in a lot of the facilities transformation you've seen on Clemson's campus lately. From the Allen Reeves Center to the McFadden Building to Memorial Stadium to the Neary Center, family owned and operated since 1947. The owner, Scott Junkins, big Clemson guy. Harris Flooring is just as good inside the home and the residential realm as they are with the larger scale commercial stuff. Give them a call, 864-642-6183, or online at flooringamerica-anderson.com. So at what point, what was the, I don't want to say turning point, but the point when you told yourself, okay, this thing's headed in a direction. I mean, this is a special thing going on. Was it the LSU Chick-fil-A Bowl? What was it that you recall?
Gosh, it's hard. I mean, I don't know. I mean, college football is very dependent on talent. And when they started getting the guys, I think Spiller not leaving after his, I guess, was it his freshman year? So I don't know when he was thinking about going to Florida or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Spiller was a big part, him staying for the 4 years and people getting to see him play, recruits, I mean, and saying, wow, I mean, that's a special guy. And he went to Clemson, I remember when Sammy Watkins got there, Sammy should have won the Heisman his freshman season. I can't figure out why that didn't happen. He was the best football player in the country his freshman year, in my opinion. But guys like that start coming. Taj had a great career, obviously the winning really took off at that time. I don't remember. I'm slightly pessimistic when it comes to football. I don't know if it's probably my personality, but I do remember it was only a few years ago when I started thinking our team. I mean, I say this because a lot of times you just feel like, oh God, something. I mean, you always expect to win, but it was not my personality to say, oh, we're going to win. We're just going to win.
Rah.
And right. It's just like, we're expecting the team you're watching on TV to win. I'm like a Packer fan, but oh gosh, here we go. Oh, man, come on guys. Hold on. It was 2 or 3 years ago when it's like, for some reason you didn't watch a game and it's North Carolina game last week. Just knew they were going to win. Just knew they were. And I think that happened 2 or 3 years ago, saying Clemson's going to win. They're going to win. I don't care who it is. They're going to win. And it happened well before that. It did turn well before that. But I think that's when I actually didn't have any anxiety that Clemson's not going to win the football game. I mean, that's when you know that, wow, the train's rolling now.
How crazy is this?
It's crazy. And I think you got to. Yeah, going back to 3 years ago when, 2 or 3 years ago when we won the first national championship, we are at the top. Golly, like, how are you supposed to feel about this? This is like the guys I played with in the league, the LSU players, the USC guys the Alabama guys that were just dominating college football. Like, we're in that class. And you don't really, I remember telling people, how are you supposed to feel about this exactly? This is pretty cool. And then it went to the next level and the next level, and you absolutely just beat the pants off the most dominant program ever last year, and going, we don't belong. We don't belong. We are now the class of college football. We are the class, and it certainly has to keep going for sure. But it's not going to last forever. And I think you just, as a fan, alumni, Letterman, all that, you just have to enjoy it because it isn't going to last forever. I hope it goes another 5 years. Hope it goes another 10 years, but it's not going to last forever, and you have to enjoy it.
Break down what you've seen out of Trevor Lawrence so far this year.
Well, I think I got to go back to last year. Obvious extreme talent with the arm. I saw him hit that deep ball in the spring game when he was supposed to be a senior in high school, and go, that ball went off. God almighty. It kind of shortens the field.
Yeah.
It's a different thing when you can throw it over everybody's head at any time. So I think last year when you're reacting and you're just in there and you're kind of, sometimes when I'm not saying the guy was scared at all, but like when it's new and you just have to go because you don't really know what's going on, it just happens and you react. And I think this year the talent is still there. He's doing what he has to do, but I think, people know, and they're game planning a little bit. I mean, I just watched the UNC game knowing I was going to talk to you because I missed it last week. But, I mean, they pressure every play now.
Yeah.
You get them in third down. The only chance you have is to outsmart the protection, right? Because you can't cover number 8, number 5, number 9, 10. I mean, they got second team receivers that are like going to be playing the NFL. I mean, so you can't cover him. So he's seeing multiple looks. They're attacking constantly. He made that great play in the national championship game, the long touchdown to the right. I think the corner fell down, but he was outnumbered. He got the ball out accurately, and it was kind of the game winner. It was kind of out of reach after that. So I think he can deal with that. But when you see it all the time, there's some adjustments you got to make. I mean, I think that he's not having some sophomore slump or whatever.
Right.
The guy's a damn good player. He's going to be highly drafted. I have no idea if he goes 1 or 5 or 10. I don't know. Who knows? But he's doing what he has to do. He's 5-0. Never lost a game. That's what I know. He's lost one game his whole life. That's what I do know. Now he has superior talent around him, but he is also a superior talent. And I think we'll have to see moving forward. I think it's important. Gosh, I hope he never loses a college game, but just for his future move, in the NFL and all that, it's so evenly matched in the NFL that you're going to have adversity and things. And maybe this is good for him, not just being he's already won the Heisman this year. He's not going to win. He's not going to win it this year. He's not going to. You know what I mean? I hate to say, but the statistics that you have to actually win it, he's going to win it next year probably, but I like the fact that he's having to figure a few things out. I think it's going to be really good for him. I think it's going to be good for the team moving forward.
I walked away from that North Carolina game with 2 takeaways on Lawrence. One was, man, he's kind of off. But the second takeaway was, holy crap, he was a warrior. Like if he, without some plays he made in that game, without him, they might lose that game by 2 touchdowns.
Right.
So
right.
When you're watching a game on TV, take me through. Like, are you watching the ball, or are you sitting there looking at the safeties? Like, what are you looking at?
I do watch the defense more, and I started doing that kind of halfway. I should have done it real early in my NFL career, but about halfway through, I started watching. When you're by yourself and you can TiVo the stuff and run it back, you can watch it like game film. Now, when there's other people in the room, they don't want to see that. So when you're not running it back every play, you kind of just are watching as a fan, and you pick up on a few things, but. I like watching. I like backing up every play, and you can see. I'm into the protections and stuff, and the way they're trying to rush the passer, because that's what the NFL is all about. It's about getting to the passer, right? I mean, and confusing the quarterback, and that's what he's experiencing now is multiple looks, multiple pressures, and that's kind of what I pay attention to now is how, like, if I had to be a defensive coordinator, how would I attack Clemson? How would I do it? And that's kind of what I watch. So I'm watching front, I'm watching coverage, I'm watching pressure. I'm watching if the quarterback throws the ball into the right part of the coverage, because you can tell. I mean, if you've done it long enough, you know what the hell the reads are for the most part, not entirely, but if you run it back a few times, watch the game film, you can kind of tell with pretty high certainty if the quarterback is going to the right guy, and that's what I kind of like to do now.
And it looks like they're sort of funneling the receivers to the sideline and trying to take away the intermediate middle, I guess. Is that what you're?
Well, I think they can't the deep ball and that back shoulder throw, that they're still living off of it. I mean, they still hit them because you got a superior athlete out there, and Trevor's good at those throws. You're trying to, they're going to hit. Clemson's going to hit. They can roll out of bed and they're going to hit 5 big plays in the game, right? So if you can keep it to 5, you have a chance, Problem is if they goes to 12, big throws, big runs, Etienne goes for 80 yards, then you got no chance against them. So they're going to score. That's 30 points just right there. Yeah. And then they may drive for 2 more touchdowns. So they're trying to eliminate big plays, I think. And I think at this point, you try to get him in third medium somehow. I mean, UNC, I guess, stopped the run. I don't know how they did it, but they were, I think they were 4 yards a rush or something. And they were, I checked the stats, they had 15 or 16 or 17 third downs. Clemson got 8 of them, so that's pretty good, or 8 out of 15 or something. But you got to get them into third downs, and you have to rush the passer. And they've gotten to Trevor a few times with exotic kind of NFL style zone pressures, just multiple pressures. You're trying to, and then you got to get a few turnovers. If you can get, and he's thrown it the other team a few times. So you're trying to make him make decisions faster than normal. Maybe we can get a few turnovers. The only chance you have to beat Clemson is you got to get 2 turnovers, and you got to eliminate the big plays. And I don't know. I just think it's been pretty easy for Clemson. They throw speed outs, they throw deep balls. They don't have the slot threat as much as they did with Renfro, and it's been a little harder this year. It's been a little harder.
You know, I might have written 200 stories during the off season about football, and I'm slapping myself in the face now because not one of those stories mentioned how are they going to replace Hunter Renfro. The guy was pretty good at creating space on those 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7s. I mean, now you don't have that.
You don't. There was a play on 3rd down against UNC, 25, and I don't know his name, but he seems like kind of an H-back, tight end, pretty good player. It was 3rd and 8. He runs a 5-yard kind of pivot out, and it gets incomplete, but there wasn't, not judging him, but just the route and it just wasn't. That's probably Renfro's play. They threw it in front of the sticks, but I know it's just he's a guy, Renfro, that you end up taking for granted because he's so steady. Kind of forget the fact that he made all these great, incredible catches off his body and stuff. Yeah. You just forget because he's overshadowed by these studs on the outside that are sexier players. That can really make big, incredible jump balls and run it in when they catch it and all. And I think they may have. Of course, you missed the guy. Hell, he was a 4th, 5th round draft pick at 192 pounds. Of course, he was a good player. You know what I mean? Like unbelievable player in college. Yeah.
So you I guess record all the Clemson games and watch all of them eventually, or how does that work?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, that's how I kind of like watching games. I mean, it's fun to watch with like my brother and I watch the Packer games together fairly often, and that's fun. And we don't run it back; we just watch, But for the most part, I record the Clemson games. I'll record, I kind of like watching Alabama on offense too, so I'll record them, and I'll record 5. I'll probably watch 5 or 7 NFL games. So and just rip through them and watch the teams that I know and the players I know, and that's kind of how I do it.
What do you like about Alabama? Just the sheer talent at quarterback and receiver? Yeah,
pretty awesome. I wasn't a huge fan of Tua. I watched him play against, I think it was South Carolina a few weeks ago, and I kind of get it with him. I don't know physically. He's not like that big physical specimen like Trevor, but God, he throws it to the right guy. I like their style of offense. I mean, they've got 4 first or second round receivers right now, I guess, apparently. So he's playing with superior talent too, but I like the fact they kind of they're making reads and stuff. It looks more like I'll go back to a little bit of I like the old school way of doing things. I'm not all that impressed with the style of play in college football, and I haven't been for a few years. I know I played in kind of a similar spread thing, but if I see another wide receiver screen, that's when I want to change the channel. I mean, I know it's a good play. I know Julio Jones, they won the game on a wide receiver screen 2 weeks ago, a walk-off touchdown. There's a place for it, but there's certain plays that I don't like. I like power running game. I like play action pass. I like down the field passing. I don't like basketball, and I think college offense is kind of like basketball now. It was pretty neat when Malzahn and everything, they were doing all that stuff where the quarterback would then run it and then throw it. You'd fake and then look like he's running the ball in the zone read and then throw it downfield over the corner's head and run it in. I thought that was innovative and incredible. now everybody's doing it. I don't want to see it. I want to see a 220-pound running back that we're going to hand it to him 20 times. We're going to pound you. We're going to wear you down. And then we're going to go play action, throw it over your head. Kind of the old, like Joe Hamilton, Ralph Friedgen, Georgia Tech offense, a little bit of option thrown in there is like, I ought to just watch those now. I ought to just get those on VHS and just watch those and just remember what it used to look like. I mean, I'm still a fan. It's still fun to watch, but it's just not it's just not as fun to watch for me.
You're the get off my lawn guy.
I am, dude.
Back in my day.
I am. And I'm not, hey, we didn't do that. We were doing some of this stuff, throwing it out there, but it's, gosh, I do enjoy watching NFL football. I watch Phillip Rivers play, the Chargers play, because it's the old school stuff, and it's harder. It's harder to do it as a quarterback. And that's why all these colleges do some of this stuff, because it's easier to execute. Mm-hmm. You don't have to protect the passer because the ball's out really fast. I mean, it's got a place. I get it. I understand why they're doing it. The high schools are all doing it because you spread them out and you just try to hit a few big plays, and hopefully the defense doesn't cover down, doesn't contain, whatever. But I just don't. Yeah, I know I'm old school. I'm boring, but.
Is Clemson's defensive line going to be able to hold up, in a playoff type matchup against, say, Georgia offensive line, Ohio State, Alabama? Those big, physical, huge. I mean, Clemson's a lot smaller now on up front. What do you think?
A little different than last year on up front. I am so impressed with what Venables did those first few games. I've never seen a defensive set that he lines up in it every time. And I didn't watch a ton of the defense against UNC, but that 3 safety deal, it's a 3 down front, 2 backers. You got 5 in the box, as they say, and then the nickel on one side becomes a defensive end half the plays because he becomes half the time. So but I can't figure out how he's stopping the run.
Right.
With basically a defensive end standing 12 yards deep as the free safety. Like, I don't understand it. It's incredible. And obviously he knows what he's doing, and they play incredible defense. Good question. I don't know how if you get in the I formation, we're going to run the football on you, like what Georgia or who knows who would try to, I don't know if you got the personnel. I don't know. He'll figure something out though.
Yeah.
He'll figure something out.
If you run a business that conducts credit card transactions with customers, you got to learn about Tandem Payment. Credit Card Processing Company has offices throughout the Southeast, but the one in Greenville in the upstate, headed up by a 2005 Clemson grad. Tandem's technology allows business owners to offset their credit card processing costs by applying a small customer service charge to each sale they make. Tandem has an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and was awarded the Better Business Integrity Award in 2013. Check them out at tandempayment.com. Yeah, have you been to all the national championship games? The 3?
Yes. Yeah, I went to those 3. Yeah.
I shared this with you a few weeks ago on the phone. I wish I would have saved it, but the 15 national championship game and Phoenix. I'm about to go out. I'm down on field level outside the locker room, about to go on the field for pregame warm-ups. I go into a bathroom, take a leak, wash my hands. But I was in a hurry. I didn't really dry my hands. And I walk out the door, and I see Charlie Whitehurst and Jewel walking toward me, and you say, "Hey, Larry, what's up?" And you reach out your hand, and I'm like, crap. Shake hands. I have the wet hand. And we shake hands, and you're walking off, 20 feet away. I turn around. And I see you. You're wearing jeans. I see you wiping your right hand off on your jeans. And I want to, it's like a Seinfeld Costanza moment. I wanted to say, I washed my hands. It wasn't urine.
I was thoroughly grossed out the rest of the day, man. Yeah. No, that ain't no big deal.
Oh, God.
I mean, like to think that somebody would actually... Like that wouldn't be water on their hands.
Like they did pee on themselves.
Yeah, who would do that? So I assume that you are a more with it person than that. No, I do remember, but I didn't think about it for too long. 2 hours maybe is all.
What was that like being down in Tampa the first time? I mean, obviously when you win by 28 this past year, it's special, but the first time and then doing it with a second left is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. that was kind of surreal. You know, that was amazing. You know, you see him roll right. Sean rolls right. He comes up, he's wide open, and it's like, oh my God! And he catches. I mean, unbelievable. I remember throwing my hands up, and I was in the lower level, but throw my hands up, and I hit something like the freaking scoreboard behind me or something like that. Like all three of us. I was there with my father and Mark. We all like hit the thing. We're like, oh God, I thought I broke my wrist, you know, something like that. But it didn't matter. I mean, it was just unreal. Hell, I thought they should have won it the year before.
Yeah,
they probably should have, you know. But to actually do it, it's hard to do it. It's hard to actually do it, and they did it. And golly, just unbelievable. What it must have felt like been down there.
Are you thinking going into last year's game? Are you, boy, I don't know, or are you thinking we got this?
I kind of thought, I don't know if it was my dad or something before the game, a few days before the game. But what do you think? He said, I think they'll win. And I remember saying, oh, are we allowed to feel that way? I mean, yeah, freshman quarterback. And he said, I think we're better than them. I was like, oh, man. I kind of felt the same way. I kind of felt like we kind of knew how to do it. I believed in Trevor, obviously, you know, and it wasn't even close. And there was never a time. I mean, it's Alabama. I mean, we're beating them, who knows what, 20 points in the third. You're like, you never really relaxed until, I mean, midway through the fourth quarter, you see like second team guys in the game. You're like, oh my God, what in the world? And then Alabama had some other guys in the game. It's like, it's over. What in the hell? Go beat them 30 something points. And that was, that was like another surreal moment. It's like, oh man, I mean, that was almost, you learn never to feel bad for anybody else, you know, I mean, you know, when you're a kid in Little League, I can remember feeling bad for other kids. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, like they got to go home and, you know, they got to eat dinner with their parents, you know, like, oh God, you know, but you learn real quick. That stuff gets thrown out the window. So, but I kind of was like, damn, Bama, you know, I mean, and this isn't me. This is not like some kind of humble in reverse brag or something. But I was like, oh my God, we embarrassed them. Oh my God. Like, what the hell's going on now? You know? So
Bam, Tua's got to go eat dinner with his parents.
Tua's got to go look his man in the eye. I only have one ring now, Dad. Sorry. No. But they obviously have recovered from that. So
Charlie Whitehurst, this has been fan-freaking-tastic. Anything we haven't covered, anything I missed?
Well, I'd like talking about a lot of different stuff, but I mean, whatever, you know, I mean, I think it has been really good. I don't know how long we've been doing it, but it kind of flew by, didn't it? Yeah,
that's the nature of a good conversation. So
there you go.
Tell your dad hello for me. I know he's had some, I guess, knee replacement surgeries, and best of luck to him.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when I guess it'll all come back to us, you know, that played a long time, you know what I mean? It beats you down, but it's worth it. If your brain stays intact, I think it's worth it.
That's right. That's right.
But it's easy to say at 37 years old. I mean, we'll see, you know, but people do ask me that often. How you feel? All this? Oh, I hurt. You know, stuff hurts. Shoulders hurt. Foot hurts. Knee hurts. Would you do it? Would you let your kid play? Are you kidding me? Like, absolutely. I mean, there's absolutely nothing like it. I think football is different from all the other ones, you know, and I loved baseball growing up, and I really respect a lot of the other sports and what they go through and stuff. But, gosh, there's things that happen through a football career and other things. It's not exclusively. I mean, you don't even have to play sports to have to fight through things in life and everything. But it shaped a lot of my life, I think, in a positive, and relationships that you have, and it's a special thing, and it's absolutely worth it. So that's what I'd say, is let your kids play.
Charlie, thank you so much. Don't be a stranger. Next time you're in town, let me know, and I guess when we see each other next time, I'll make sure my right hand is dry.
Yeah, you need to carry a rag with you from now on, my man. Hang it out your back pocket.
Thank you,
Good
pal.
talking to you, Larry.
You too, man. Okay, that was a blast. We're going to have to do that again, man. Definitely going to put that on my to-do list long term. So thanks to Charlie Whitehurst for joining us. Thanks to our 7 sponsors of the podcast, including title sponsor Parham Smith and Arch & Holt Law Firm in downtown Greenville. Most of all, thanks to all of you for making this a part of your listening routine. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back next week. Cheers.